We got the same blood type, got eyes like broken headlights.
We start our podcast with Charlie Lort-Phillips, my left and right hand man in filmmaking, and we are right in it at the moment. We are adding all original music to the soundtrack today, and today seems like a good day because we have found about 4 or 5 tracks that seem to be really working. Charlie Lort-Phillips.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, so it's just suddenly you get those days when things just slot in, don't they? And it boosts your creativity, doesn't it? You kind of go, we're in a good place, and the more you're in a good place, the more you find things keep on happening. So,
How did you feel that might happen this morning? How does it work on a day-to-day basis, and then a day-to-day basis on this film and the way we've learned to work with one another?
it ebbs and flows, I think, like anything, doesn't it? Because you can't have a long... I mean, the other day we were quite tired. We'd had a really long day trying to slot stuff in, and your creativity just begins to go on the wane a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So I mean, after the other day, I was sort of going, "Oh God, where are we going with this? How are we going to make this work?" And then you come in with a fresh head, start moving things around and trying them out, and suddenly off you go.
So we've got this kind of thing now, haven't we, where we lay it on, or there's an edit that takes place that if it works, we kind of look at each other and just, we've got a code now, a code word. Which
we're not allowed to say it, but let's just go.
No, let's do it. It's shit, and then we know it's worked, and it has to stay. I mean, if it reaches the level of the word shit in our edit room, it stays.
If you imagine 2 people suddenly looking at each other and just going, shit.
We're not sure we should... Basically, this is a pianist we found online.
He is fantastic.
He's absolutely amazing. We've got 2 other musicians in this film so far who are extraordinary. We love their music. But this one track has not left us, and we really want it for one piece of the film.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do is just send a section of the film to this chap. His name's Guillaume Ferrat, and if any of you haven't seen it, it's One Breath Around the World, which is an amazing piece of film, isn't it?
Extraordinary. I came across it on Vimeo, and again, another shit moment.
Shit good, not shit bad.
Yeah. I immediately email it to Charlie. He's like the filter. He says yay or nay.
Usually no, I'll be honest, but on this occasion...
But that's all part of the process, yeah.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is, slightly cheekily, we're going to send him a portion of the film with this music over the top. And it's always that tricky thing, isn't it? Because you find artists like this that you really respect.
Yeah.
And you love their work. And you want to kind of see if you can, in some way, work with them. But you don't want to push that limit. You don't want to be taking advantage of them or doing something that's going to offend them, like taking their work and sticking it over a piece of film, which is ironically what we're about to do. But the hope is that he'll watch it and go, my God, this really works.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe he'll want to be part of that. And if he doesn't, then he'll provide inspiration for something else.
We can ask somebody to listen to it and see what they think they can come up with. That's not the same, but of similar tone.
Yeah.
And for us, it's been a really enjoyable part of the filmmaking process, actually, looking for new music. Don't you think, Charlie?
Yeah. It's been... because it's actually so much harder than you think it's going to be. You think, I'm just going to go online and I'll find a track by Guns N' Roses that works, or whatever. And you really suddenly you find yourself going down all these rabbit holes, these different routes, finding loads of musicians that you've never heard of before, who suddenly become the most important musician in your world at that moment in time. And you're sort of going...
And I think what makes you an exceptional editor is the fact that you have not just an eye for what works on camera and realism, which is why I work with you, because realism is all my thing in terms of acting, but also you have an ear for music.
I used to be a choir boy.
We won't go into that.
We won't go into that.
But you're a pianist, aren't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I played the piano for years. And you know, I was kind of one of those musicians who always chops and change. So I mean, my parents will tell you that they tried to get me to actually take an instrument from learning it through to being good at it, and I always got bored of the instrument by the time I was kind of mediocre,
Yeah.
and then moved on to something else. So I'd work out how to fart out a tune on a bassoon, and then I'd give that up and go and play the organ or something. So
how do you think all that training has helped you as an editor?
Interesting. Well, obviously the music side of things. You know, you having lived in music for a long time, you develop an emotional attachment to music, and you can really begin to feel when music is pulling the right strings in your emotions for whatever you're watching. I mean, it's things like, you know, certain bits of classical music, but for some people they might listen to it and just go, "This is dull." But from being 8, 9 years old and having sung certain tracks with certain harmonies or certain songs with certain harmonies, I hear them and I practically start crying. Other people hear it and they go, "What the hell's that?" And I think some similar pieces of music with similar harmonies and similar emotions that you find through this process that we've been doing, I think that's probably why some of these pieces resonate with me so much, is because they remind me of other things that I've heard in the past that have had an emotional attachment of some kind.
I might add to that I feel like you have a learned ear, not just eye, but your ear is in time when cuts work and don't work because of timings and things like that. And is that maybe associated with music? Yeah,
possibly. I mean, because doing, the mainstay of what I do, of course, the show reels and all that kind of stuff. And back when montages were a big thing, which they're not so much anymore. You'd have to craft a piece of music into something that would fit what you were trying to. You couldn't just cut to a piece of music. You'd have to cut the music to fit what you were doing.
Yeah.
And then recut the visuals accordingly to match that phrasing that you're trying to get over the course of, say, 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So in a similar way to this, I mean, we've cut into a lot of the tracks and we've made them fit.
Yeah.
Without losing that overall journey of the track.
See, that's another thing you do really well, is you're able to stitch a track together well to fit a sequence that feels seamless. And that's why I guess I keep coming back. I think the other question is, as an editor, when I bring you this footage, what is it you're looking for when you're starting to edit a scene?
Oh God, there's a question.
Within that, do you enjoy working with the director in the room, or do you prefer time on your own?
It's a bit of both for me. I mean, because it's the way we've worked, where the footage has come in very short, where it comes in bits and bobs, and we kind of just go, right, today we're going to cut this scene. It's really good having you in the room, because I can go, what's actually happening in this scene? Where are we going with this? What tone are we looking for in this? And then we can start exploring the footage. And then there comes a point during that process where it's like, okay, Raph, can you bugger off now because you're getting in the way. And it's a bit of both, because I think certainly for me the creative process, and this is the same with the clients that I work with on day-to-day stuff, it's really nice being able to bounce ideas off people. Okay, what about this? Try that. What do you think of that? It's quite nice, and it's quite nice the way we've worked, not being constrained by here is the script that you must follow and the shot list that you must do. We've been able to look at a scene and go, why don't we make that a bit longer, or make that a bit shorter, or just try that, or lose that line completely and just see what happens with it. And that's when I'm looking through the shots here, I'm looking for stuff that with these two characters certainly perhaps will give little insights into what each other is thinking. So that's why we find little looks from each other that are quite interesting, sort of various scenes that we've had through this. There's little moments where perhaps you might have just skipped over one of the looks that Amelia's done. If it's not part of the dialogue that we're looking at, but actually you just pull that out. You go, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to drop that in over something. It's a nice little kind of. It might just be a little tweak of an eyebrow, or just a look to one side, or something that just conveys something.
It's interesting as well. Sometimes I find myself sitting here, and it's as if we're in the Starship Enterprise as we're navigating our way through these various things, and we're talking to one another like pilot and co-pilot, and going, left, and how's that working for you? Okay, let's bring this into the left slightly, and then and we've got a bit of a shake here, so let's. It's a real feeling of being in front of a spaceship,
and then you get that moment when basically you're confronted by a gigantic meteorite, which is usually when one or other of the actors has not thought about continuity.
Oh shit!
That's
good shit.
I'm not labelling anybody here, Amelia, about where your hands are sometimes in the shots, but we managed to work our way around it. But there were occasional things where you get right up to it and make you'd edit a scene right up to the point that it was absolutely perfect, and then you go, I can't get beyond this point because there's a hand up on the side of the head here,
Oh,
and in
yeah.
all the takes that we need to cut to, there isn't a hand. So then we've got to go back and rework the whole scene to get to the point where the hand isn't there.
Incredible.
And it's,
Do you know what happens sometimes in those scenarios, though? I've noticed with us and you, it's like, okay, it's time for a coffee break.
Yeah, that's really important. I think it's really important because, you know, there was something I saw on Facebook today, and I can't remember who it was who posted it, but it essentially said when you catch yourself in the middle of the day and you're not doing anything, you're just sitting on the sofa doing absolutely nothing, you can't tell yourself that you're doing absolutely nothing. You're doing what you need to do.
Exactly.
Which is to recuperate and to replenish and to take a brain break.
And you used the term once, which I really liked, was need a break, not on full cylinders at the moment.
Yeah.
And I thought that's just perfect.
Yeah.
And actually, when I go home now at the end of the day and I think, I don't get stressed anymore. I know we're in a process now because we've learnt a way of working together, which is much more organic. We look for absolute truthfulness in front of the camera. Anything that's too scripted, we usually get rid of now, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's anything that feels too written, I think, that doesn't come naturally in conversation.
Yeah.
So there were a few lines that we had, I can't remember them off the top of my head now, but there were a few lines that we had. There's a scene on the stairs, which you have with Katerina.
Scene. Yeah.
Yeah, where, I mean, I think you were struggling with it for different reasons. I think you were struggling with it because you didn't like some aspects of your performance.
Yeah.
But I was struggling with it because there were certain lines that to me felt a bit forced.
Yeah.
And also, there's a scene at the end, which I won't say too much about because it were in the film, but, where there was a line about getting back on a motorbike. And it's like, and it felt out of place, even though at the time when you shot the scene, it felt perhaps relevant.
Yeah.
When we saw it in the context of the film, it was like, why would you say that now?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to work. So
and
just
it's interesting
gloss over
that because when those things happen, they sit on your mind, don't they?
Yeah.
2-3 weeks, and if it doesn't go away, you have to address it.
Yeah, and you leave it in there.
Yeah.
And you go, oh no, it's fine. We'll leave it. No, it's fine. Yeah, no, we'll leave it. It's all good. 3 weeks later, just like
if it's still there,
just excise it. Just excise it. It doesn't work.
Oh, from a filmmaking point of view, sometimes I do all of that stuff on set to get me to the good stuff.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. And that is one of the reasons why it's good to have you in the room, because sometimes I might go, oh, this might be important to Raf to keep in, and actually it's not. It's
part of the
build.
journey. Exactly, part of the build. And going back to what you said very quickly, just to finish off, you said about things not feeling that they're organic, and that's a parallel for all the departments in a way for us, isn't it? The photography, the music. We're kind of enjoying this journey of things having to put the pieces together ourselves rather than it happening on the day.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about organic in terms of the content itself, or the way that it builds.
The photography,
yeah.
The music. We just don't like finished products too early, do we?
Yeah, it's nice to have that space to be able to explore where you're trying to go with something. And one of the things we found with some of the music, I think, is that one of the musicians who's really, really talented, I think where perhaps the music is constrained by having to be dictated to by what she's seeing on screen. Whereas we've listened to some of her music that comes from a freer place where she's just made the music herself, and then we've dropped some of that in over the top. And I think because it comes from a place that's not constrained, the emotions are more genuine, and suddenly it fits with what you're seeing on screen, even though it's not intended for that.
And we kind of feel like the puzzle, the people that are putting the puzzle together, rather than it being done for us outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I think that's what I mean. Coming back, and we haven't got a shooting script and a set number of shots, so we're able to sort of build something that's much more fluid, which is I think is really cool.
Yeah. And, this is our second one together now.
It is. The first one was a heart-rending drama about an Indian film director who faced harsh immigration policies in the UK. And this is a light-hearted comedy about a Norwegian nurse.
May I take this moment to introduce you to Charlie Lort-Phillips' sarcastic side?
It's what we do best.
Yeah, I think we might as well end on a good note that basically things get a bit silly in this room sometimes, and it's just our coping mechanism to figure. Our creative brains have been so focused for a while that just sort of to let it all go and go childlike sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, but this is the thing. I think that happened on the last film we did. It happens on this film. I mean, some other people come and sit in the suite at sort of 4:30 in the afternoon, and they come in, they're all sort of focused. They go, "Hi, yes, hello, film, yeah, great." And they'll come in and they'll sit down. Yeah, so what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And Raph and I will just talk absolute balls, and we'll make stupid jokes, and we'll put stupid sounds over the film just for fun. And it happened. There was another project I was working on, which was a feature-length documentary where, I mean, the editing went on for a very long time, and we would literally, people would just come into the room and be like, "Have you guys been in here just taking drugs or something? Because you're all completely off your heads." And it's because you spent all that time in a room with the same people, focused for so long, that you just develop a synergy where you can just riff and be stupid. And again, even that comes in waves, because there are times during the day when we riff off each other and it's absolutely great. 10 minutes later, we'll be absolutely knackered and going, "Oh, I want a coffee."
Yeah.
It's weird. It kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Like everything else.
Excellent. It's amazing that I think the first time I met you, you did my show reel.
Yeah, I've still got the Oscar upstairs.
I gave you an Oscar because for some reason in my quantum thinking, I looked at what you did with my show reel within 15 minutes, and I knew I wanted to make a film one day. And I think I ran to Carnaby Street and bought this fake Oscar, and I'd never seen somebody's work so good so quickly. I brought it to you and I thought, he's gonna edit my film one day, he doesn't know it yet. And I was like, that.
But it's funny that, because that's the same day I took out the restraining order, wasn't it?
So I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure and brilliant to work with you, and I'm glad we've recorded it for future generations maybe to listen to. You never know, but the process has been fun. We sound very civilised today. We're usually not.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do a Pete and Dud version.
Yeah, we should do. I mean, luckily there's no camera here because I can't see them. We're just sitting here in our underpants.
Oh, you got yours on.
Let
me put my bag on.
Tin foil on my head.
And Charlie also acted in Flim, the movie, and
ironically playing the part of a grumpy editor, which I did quite well.
So you want to see our real life, watch Flim, the movie.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's part one of our podcast, and hope you enjoyed some sort of insight into what happens in this dark room in Borough.
Yeah. Take care.
We got the same blood type, got eyes like broken hair.